be with Dr. Bartholomew Orr, pastor, author, husband, family man, and thought leader as he encounters other believers who have impacted the world with their God-given gifts and talents. Let's meet the people who are moving the church forward with their faith, wisdom, direction, and innovation. It's spiritual, it's motivational, it's Church Forward.
Well, hello, guys. This is Bartholomew Orr. Join me on this journey as we chronicle the stories and lifestyles of some of the world's most innovative people who will share how their faith, wisdom, and direction really help them to change lives and make a difference in these unprecedented times. It is my prayer that these out-of-the-box conversations with extraordinary people will help you to really think differently about faith and doing the unthinkable. And today, I'm blessed with the. Do you ever get tired of hearing that you're the Johnny Cochran of our day?
hey, that's an honor, man. I mean, we talk about Johnny Cochran, we talk about one of the greatest that ever did it. So, to even have your name, mentioned is the light version of anything is definitely an honor.
But you definitely have made a name for yourself. Yes, Henry Reeves III. And I think everybody in Memphis and the Mid-South have seen you standing yes, with your with the billboards with your arm up. And yes, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Definitely honored to be here and thankful for the invitation.
Well, I appreciate, we've been kind of catching up with each other, and it seemed like both of us have some Mississippi roots.
Yeah, definitely. I was born in Memphis, but my hometown is in Benton County. It's actually, my address is Holly Springs, but I was more in that Benton County. I ended up going to Ashland High School, graduated from there 1998.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So Mississippi, brought up in Mississippi. Well, is your roots there in Mississippi?
Well, the thing is, I was kind of a rolling stone because my father was in the Navy, and so we ended up moving around. We were at a lot of places. Originally, we were in Oakland, California, and then we spent time in Japan. I actually went to school in Japan. I was like the only black kid and with all Japanese classmates. And ended up coming back to Mississippi. And then we were in Southern California for a long time, and when I was in 10th grade or 11th grade, ended up coming back and staying in Mississippi, and I was there. That was the coming up.
Wow. And where'd you do undergrad at?
I did undergrad at Peru State College in Nebraska. So when I was 17, I came in one day, and my father was like, son, I don't think you got enough self-discipline. You're not going to be able to go to college. You're going to the military. And he called a recruiter, and I went to the military.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I ended up going to the Air Force. We went in. I joined when I was 17, did the delayed enlistment program, and I went in, and I was in military intelligence. I was an imagery interpreter, and so I was stationed out there off at Air Force Base in Nebraska. So that's where I ended up getting my undergrad.
Wow. Yeah. And then from there on to law school?
Yeah, from there I came back to, after I got out of the Air Force, I was supposed to get out in 2002, like in June, but I was in the military during 9/11, and so I ended up getting sent over there doing Operation Enduring Freedom. So I ended up getting stop loss, but when I did get out, came back to Memphis, and y'all don't judge me for this, but I used to work at a little place called Bill Hurd Chevrolet. So if anyone told you was approved for a car and they came back to get it from you later, I ain't had nothing to do with that. But I ended up coming back to Mississippi. I was in the Holly Springs Police Department for about maybe 2 months, but they were making $9 an hour back then, and it was so bad in Holly Springs back then that the projects, Rankin Circle, the fire department and the ambulance would not even go in there without a police escort.
Are you serious?
And so that's when I went to selling the cars, and I knew I wanted to be a lawyer and go to law school, but I kind of got sidetracked because I was selling. I was making money I'd never seen. I walked holes in my shoes. I was making so much money, and one day I was selling a car, And a gentleman came in and he was asking all these different types of questions about it. He was buying a Chevrolet Suburban, and he came in and, you used to people asking questions about price and stuff like that, but he's asking like, well, what is the torque on this one? And what is the tow capacity? And what is and he was just drilling me. I'm looking around, is this man a secret shopper or like, am I getting tested? So then we get back to the table, and he says, this is going to be the easiest sale you ever made. And he said, you know who I am? I was like, no, sir. And I had, back then, that's when they had the phone book. Turned the little phone book over and pointed. It was Mike Montesi. Like, he was like, there's me. And, end up making the sale, sold him the car. But I kind of took that as a message of, man, let me go ahead and, I was supposed to go to law school. I want to be a lawyer. Let me go. And then I went to California, where I ended up meeting my beautiful wife. I met her in church. I ended up meeting my wife there, and shortly after that, went to law school in Indiana University.
Wow.
Yes,
And so, get out of law school. What brought you back to Memphis?
Man, I say it's definitely, in hindsight, it's definitely God brought me back to it. When we got out of law school, I kind of was open. I lived around at a lot of places. My wife was originally from Champaign, Illinois, so It wasn't like, Memphis is the only life I knew, or Mississippi was the only life I knew. So we really applied all over the country. I applied at a lot of different places, and I ended up having a lot of, quite a few offers at different places to go. But we got one letter from Memphis, and the thing about it is usually in law school, what happens when you apply for attorneys, most of the time, you apply and then you get a first interview. And that first interview, it's very hard to get that. But what's even harder to get is that callback, that second interview. Because they'll interview quite a few people, and then they're very selective on that callback, on that second one. So I got a letter, and it was like, hey, congratulations, hey, welcome to your second interview. And the thing is, I'd never done the first interview. So I didn't know. So I just came and I went to it. And it was for a law firm here downtown Memphis doing insurance defense. And I went to the interview up in Chattanooga, met with all the partners, because it was it's a large law firm, a regional powerhouse. And that interview went well. And we ended up taking that job, and that's how I got back here. So I never, I didn't, we didn't plan out. I was literally, brought back here.
Glory.
That's
See,
right.
now, and you made mention of this even before. You've mentioned about God, because it seemed like faith has really helped to navigate your life up to this point.
Oh, definitely. You know how it is growing up in Mississippi. I feel that the people who grew up in Mississippi, even though financially, they might not be as rich as, some people, I think they're probably some of the richest people in the world, because they're instilled with so much faith at an early age. Like as a young child, I'm in church and you're hearing people who, this person had cancer and they was cured, and this person went through this and this person. So it was really instilled, very early. Went to a little church down there, Macedonia, CME church. And then they didn't have, it was one of those churches where they have a pastor that doesn't come every week. So we might have the second and fourth Sunday, and then on the other ones we'll go to my other grandma's church down the road, which was Mount Zion CME. And so that, and my father, his job when he was in the military, he was a chaplain's assistant. So, a lot of times if I go to my dad's job afterwards, it would be, I would be in the chapel. He would, his job in the Navy, he was in the Navy, and that's what his job was.
Wow. So you've just been surrounded by church, surrounded by faith. When did you come to know the Lord as your own Savior?
I would probably say when I got baptized, I would say it was before then, but when I got baptized, I was 13, 13 years old. But, the faith, my journey is kind of, it really developed over time. And I'm going to tell you that it went to a completely different level. Why my faith changed almost completely was like when I lost my father. Because then it was like, man, you don't have no earthly father to rely on.
Wow.
And so, I found out that like God can provide comfort, that you can have comfort, and he can provide it, on a level, that even an earthly father couldn't.
Wow. Are you an only child, or?
I have 3 sisters. I'm the middle. I'm kind of in the middle. I have an older sister, and I have 2 little sisters. Both of my little sisters, they end up going to law school, as well. One of them works out in South Carolina, and another one in Southern California.
And you're Henry Reeves the third.
That's right.
So there's a Henry Reeves 1 and 2.
Yes. My grandfather, Henry Reeves Sr., he was a very big during the civil rights movement.
Wow.
He was actually back then during the Freedom Summer and things like that, he was the secret president at the NAACP, because they had to move a little bit differently in Mississippi. Yeah. So I had a time where my grandfather, Henry Reeves Sr., was the secret president of the NAACP, and he also started the Citizens Club down there in Benton County, and he started freedom schools down there as well.
Wow.
And if you Google right now, for the state of Mississippi to now, even to this day, he's the watershed case for libel, because he called the superintendent, to paraphrase, something like the principal, something like a Uncle Tom or something like that, because he was listening to the school board as opposed to the kids and the parents who were at Ashland High, and that ended up going to the Supreme Court of Mississippi. He got sued, and he lost $60,000, and he appealed it, went all the way to the Supreme Court, and to this day, if you see Foster v. Reeves, that is the watershed case for libel. And so, yeah.
Wow. Did he win?
Oh, he won. Yeah, he won.
At the Supreme Court level.
He won at the Supreme Court level. And also, I don't know if you remember, but they had, for a minute, Mississippi, with Fannie Lou Hamer leading it, had the Democratic Freedom Party.
Okay.
And he was one of the delegates that went down there with Fannie Lou Hamer. Wow. In D.C. So I got to really hear a lot of the stories of, my grandmother's cousin was Aaron Henry, who was the NAACP, and we hear stories like Fannie Lou Hamer eating at our house, and Aaron Henry, and this is the type of environment that I was kind of raised around. Correct.
Wow. So if you had 3 words to describe yourself, what would they be?
I would say blessed, grateful, and humble.
Good. I like humble. That's one of my core values as well. And I think growing up in Mississippi, it taught you a little bit about that as well. Just remaining humble in all things.
Well, God is that's the biggest thing you could do, to put God in a position where he's not going to use you for great things. And that's not have humility. Because, God rejects the proud, and we don't have a God who really likes to share his glory. So if, you're an individual who, as soon as God blesses you, or as soon as God puts you in a certain position, that you're going to start taking the credit, and you're going to start taking the glory, and you're going to do, those types of things, it limits your use.
Well, you sound like my daddy now, because my daddy would say, boy, don't let people put you on a pedestal, because if people put you on a pedestal, they'll bring you down.
That's right.
But if you humble yourself, God will exalt you. And when God lifts you up, even when people want to bring you down, they won't be able to bring you down.
Ain't nothing they could do about it.
All right, so stepping out on your own with the Reeves Law Firm, I still, that image is still ahead. Matter of fact, where did that come from?
That image, it was, that was something that was just really organic. We were coming there just to, shoot pictures for another billboard, just a regular photo shoot. But, the thing about that morning, though, was that was the morning that we got the news that the people who murdered Breonna Taylor, that they weren't going to be indicted. And so I kind of had that in my spirit, and I had it on my mind. So everything was smiling, cheesing, and then just something hit me, just like, do one picture like that, and I just did that. And if you look at my face, like, that's what I'm feeling. That came from, that picture came from a place. And then when we saw it, we're like, all right, we'll go with it.
As an attorney, talk about that, because I mean, I guess you get an opportunity a lot of times to really speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves.
Yes, I mean, well, when I first started practicing, I was working for the insurance defense company, and so I was basically representing a lot of these Fortune 500 companies. So people who got hurt at work, or people who got hurt in a car accident, or wrongful deaths and stuff like that, I was working for the insurance company. And one day I had
trying to stop them from getting it.
Trying to get you as little as possible, as little as possible, or nothing. And the better I did, and the more I could do, it was a good job, boy. But the last thing for me is, I had somebody in there, and they were talking to him, and this woman, Pastor Orr, just put me in the mind of my grandmother. Just put me in the mind of my grandma so much. And she looked me in my eyes as a black man, too, and was like, do you think this is a good deal? And then after that, I was like, I can't do this. I said, I can't do this. Like, this ain't, like, I was, I had a family, and I had children, and, my wife, and so I had, stuff I had to depend on, but, it was one of those jobs that just, like, sucked everything out of you. So I knew I wanted to get out, and so I went originally, and I started interviewing. I knew I wanted to be on the other side, so I interviewed at Morgan & Morgan, I interviewed at Cochran Firm, I interviewed a lot of places. The last place I went was a local place here called NST, and I met with Corey B. Trotz, Aaron Saharovac, and Corey B. Trotz. And I'm sitting down, and I'm telling them about, man, I had this many people coming, and they asking for a lawyer, and they doing that. And I think that they thought that I was kind of, maybe prevaricating a little bit, just selling myself, fluffing myself up. And one of them, they leaned back. They said, well, you got all that, what you need us for? And I told you that was the last interview I ever did. After that, I was like, you right.
So you stepped out on faith.
So I stepped out on faith, but it is not necessarily as much as stepping out on faith as much as God closing every other door. Because I'm talking about every door. I mean, I remember when I was starting my practice, man, I know waiting in outside of FedEx Forum this is a lawyer. I was waiting outside FedEx Forum in the rain for like 2 hours at a job fair just trying to get a job to sell popcorn. I couldn't get that. Like, teaching jobs, like every other door got shut until a guy was like, you gonna do this. And so that's, that's
almost reminded me of Paul when he was going on that second missionary journey, and he wanted to go here. The Spirit said, no, you can't go here, can't go here. Finally, he gets this call saying, come over to Macedonia and help us. And my goodness, it opened up. Well, what wisdom then would you give young black men who really want to be successful in their lives?
For one, I think it has to start with faith. I think that anything and everything you do, the most important thing is that you have a good relationship, that you have a good relationship with Christ. You learn as much as you can about him, because that's what's going to get you through. And once you have that faith, it's going to really block you from a lot of things that's going to hurt you and kill you, because it's really all the bad things that people do, all the evil things that people do, it all comes from a lack of faith, because you feel like, man, I gotta do this because God ain't gonna do it. Like, I gotta go take this Kia. I gotta go steal this Infinity. I gotta go rob this person. I gotta go steal. I gotta lie to this person. I gotta do this, because if I don't do this, then this ain't gonna happen and this ain't gonna happen. But the thing is, like, if you can just really understand the concept of faith, to understand that you really, serve a good God, and those are things that you don't have to do. Right, man, it's gonna lead you. You're gonna lead you the right way.
And you all are actively now members of
Riverside Missionary Baptist Church.
Dr. Reginald Boyce, my good friend.
Yes,
doing a great job there in the that Westwood area.
Yes. It's we've been going there for maybe 10 years or so.
That's great.
Man, I can't remember what the first pastor was. He ended up going to Arkansas.
Right, George Parks.
George Parks. We started going there when George Parks was there.
Okay, all right.
The old one.
Well, great. So wisdom. What about direction? Do you have some mentors that have kind of helped you along the way?
As far as me, a mentor that God really put in my life would be my cousin, Vandal Bland. A lot of it I look at him as the forerunner. I grew up in Mississippi on the dead end, but I grew up during like the crack epidemic. And so, when I looked around, everybody who had money or anything like that, they were selling crack. And it was my cousin Vandal who was an attorney. And it was the first time that I saw that there's a different way to do this, that there are people who are getting money who are not selling dope. They're not, rapping or entertainers and things like that.
Wow, that's all right. Well, so mentors that have helped you, what about you mentoring others? Have you been able to pour into the life of others?
One of the things that I appreciate is at the Reeves law firm, I've been able to give opportunities and hire like more black attorneys than Morgan & Morgan, NST, and all these different places put together over these last 10 years. So I like to give people, opportunities. It's a lot of young attorneys who I gave that initial opportunity. In addition to that, we definitely try to get out in the community as much. I'm always asked to speak at this school or speak at that school.
Yeah.
And I just have that's a very energizing thing for that. If someone asks me, they know I don't care what my schedule is like. If someone's like, hey, can you come and speak to some kids? Man, I'm there.
Now, what are the ages of your own children?
So we have the baby. Well, actually, I have a grandchild too, but my baby boy is 11. Then we got 12. My daughter's 14, and then my son 19, and then we have a 23-year-old.
My goodness.
Yeah.
You're spread out.
And my grandbaby will be 1. My grandbaby Nova, she would be 1 on November the 8th.
All right. Yeah. Hey, look, I'm in that grandparent club as well.
Ain't that the best thing since sliced bread? Ooh-wee.
Wow, that's all right then. Well, innovation. So, when you think about innovation, and right now I know we need such innovative leadership. What was it that led you, into starting your own law profession? And when you think about where you are right now, talk about just innovation for the future.
As far as when I think about innovation for the future, when I look at my law firm where it first started, one of the things that allowed the business to grow was the reliance on data. And so there's a lot of people who have businesses or who have organizations. I think the more comfortable that they get with data and the analysis and the interpretation of data, and just realizing like what are the numbers that are important, when I look at these numbers, what type of trends can I see? It allows you to be in a position where you're not driving blind, and that even the data from not only operations-based businesses, but also even service-based businesses. Like even a church should know, their data. They should know, hey, what is our attendance like? How many people are, being saved? How many, and be able to see the trends.
Someone I was talking with another business owner that was looking at starting a second location, and they were talking about, I guess they can tell how many cars actually pass by a certain spot.
Yeah.
Talk about data.
Yes. That data, it really, really opens it up. And if you think about it, like for my particular business, when I advertise, a lot of times people see my billboards and they see stuff everywhere, because you can't really target someone who's going to get into a car wreck. It's not a specific, demographic. It's some people just riding down the street and a car, hits behind you. So you got to be everywhere. And when you do that, and when you have multiple sources of advertising, it's going to be very dangerous to just throw money in a whole bunch of different directions and say like, well, it's working, so I guess we're good. What that data will do, it'll allow you to know like exactly what type of ROI am I getting from this particular advertising source and things like that, and it'll help you make those decisions that you need to make to steer it wherever you want to.
So how large is Reeves Law Firm?
Right now, Reeves Law Firm, we have about 90 employees.
Wow.
We have 19 attorneys. We're in Memphis. We have primary office there in Whitehaven. We also have a satellite office downtown, and we have an office in Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, so you have branched out beyond.
We have. I waited. It was probably, I was 10 years in before we did that, because we just wanted to make sure that we had our processes and our systems down. We didn't want to, start expanding prematurely.
Okay.
And we also have a call center in Ghana, Africa. So we're using that as well.
A call center in Ghana.
Yes, in Accra.
Okay. So, and will you one day perhaps go there and actually train up some lawyers there as well?
Yeah. I mean, in our call center right now, we have attorneys. We have Accra attorneys. We're not using them as attorneys, but we use them basically as the litigation paralegals.
Okay.
And so I enjoy that. That Africa trip, going to Africa. Originally, that was a very, very big experience for me.
That's a whole nother conversation, because Africa is one of those heartbeats for myself as well. Yeah, it was always something special about going back there, and then for them seeing us as African Americans come.
Yeah. It's like they're like, they believe almost like it's a prophecy. Like, these people, our family was kidnapped, and one day they'll come back. And so, when they see you, it's like,
yeah. Always have a great experience. So what do you see Reeves Law Firm 5-10 years from now?
That's a very good question. The biggest thing that I want to do is just continue to improve in every single aspect. We want to keep getting better trained. We want to keep getting better technology. We want to keep having better processes. I don't know if I plan on expanding outside of Mississippi and Memphis, but a lot of my focus now, as we're looking going into year number 12, 13, I'm really focused a lot more on the civil rights plane and the freedom of my people. Like, I felt like, man, I had whatever money can give me. Like, I had it. I've experienced it. I've been there. I tasted it. I ate there. I seen that. So for me now, like for the rest of my life, is the freedom of my people is.
How do you give back and help others?
That's it.
I like that. Well, look, thank you for joining us on this amazing, interesting conversation today. Let me know what you think and connect with me on my website and also social media. Be sure to subscribe to my e-newsletter so that you don't miss out on more ways to live your lives outside of the box. Stay tuned for even more conversations that will inspire you to do the unthinkable.